Ultimate Fishing Pro, Skeet Reese.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is, all I know is you're a whole lot grayer now than you were when we first started doing these things. Hey, I'm not gray, but I do. How do you like that mullet? Isn't that hideous? Look at that! Yeah, my daughter's cringing over there. Like, this is, so, let me tell you a little story here. It's not that, well, I'm a lot of things. I don't know what I am. I'm not really a mullet guy. I mean, I did have one back in whatever, the 80s. This is a drunken pool bet right here is what this is. Anybody ever made a bet and you're like, dumb bet? 1, 2 hands. Any dumb bets over here? Because you guys are all geniuses. So this actually did start out as a bet, and 3 guys. My odds are pretty good because one of them's bald. It was the best mullet at the end of the year, so this is hopefully like the last month of it. But the other guy, I got a competition. The other guy's he's got a little bit of mullet going on, but that's so hideous. My barber said, he goes, that's nasty. It's pretty nasty, yeah. So, and my wife Kim is right up here, and she's like, I'm shocked that it's still on my head when I wake up in the morning. I'm waiting for clippers to be going zzz in the middle of the night, and I'm gonna wake up and I'll be bald. So I'm ready to shave it off. But anyways, that's why I have a mullet. This isn't by choice, because I don't know. It's not a California thing. We go further south. Alabama, we got a lot more of them down there, so I see a lot of them. Anyways, now that I see my wife over here, it's like, I'll start crying, get all emotional and shit up here. But so 24 years ago, this same month, I met her at an ISE show, same ISE show, but it's in San Mateo, California. That's where I met my wife, so pretty crazy. So now I'm sitting up here doing another 24 years later, I'm still up here on a tank, still talking about fishing. And how many of you over 40 in here? How many of you that are over 40 still think you're 16 in your head? How many of you act like you're 12? Hell yeah, that's my crowd right there. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, there's chairs, there's seats, come on in. Feel free to sit down, take a break, look at some fish, don't listen to me, but there are some spaces if you want to come in, talk a little bit about fishing, jump on in here. But it is interesting. I mean, I remember I did my first trade show when I was 16 years old, so that's, whoa! Is that loud? Sorry. That was a long time ago. I'm 55. But I don't act like it. But then literally I did my first trade show. It was an ISE show, to be a matter of fact. I was doing casting demonstrations for Limaglass rods back then with a guy named Stan Fagerstrom, who was one of the world's greatest trick caster. Anybody know the name Stan Fagerstrom in here? You are not old enough then. Wow. So he was a legendary trick caster, but I was 16 years old doing presentations with him. And that was the first time I did a trade show. And since then, Kent and I literally have traveled around, done these things for years. Anybody ever hear Kent Brown's radio show, Ultimate Bass Radio? All right, well, that's why some of you are probably here. He talks a lot. He does. He loves to talk. Then you guys are listening to me like, would you just shut up and talk about fishing? So we'll get there. Sooner or later, we are going to get to this. I promise you. But I will get to say that I'm very fortunate that since however long, I've been fishing for a living full time. I've been able to actually pay my bills, provide for a family. What year is this? Since 1997, I've made a living fishing for bass. So I'm very grateful for that somehow I've been able to catch a bass and win a few tournaments and work with great companies and come out and talk to you guys and meet and greet and educate a little bit. But it's still, I love getting up here. I'll never forget, like my first time I got on one of these tanks, I was scared to death. Like literally, my first cast didn't even remotely come near the tank. I don't know if I didn't hit anybody, so I'm not saying you're not going to get hit out here, but I'll never forget how nervous I was. I was like, what if I fall in? And they used to have it like a bass boat up here, like the front end of a Ranger, and you stand on there like you're actually fishing. So, but as hot as I am right now, this water looks really refreshing. Anybody else hot in here today? Dude, I wore my hoodie thinking it was going to be cold in here today. I'm roasting, so I should have brought a regular jersey. But anyway, I grew up. Anybody here don't know who I am or what I do? Are you just too scared to raise your hand? And I'm good. Oh, thanks, man. I'm impressed. That's pretty good. Usually there's always like half the hands like, I don't have no idea who you are, but you just got a bright yellow jersey. What car do you drive? So, but we are at a fishing show. It is amazing how many people, I go across the country, I'll be getting gas at a gas station after a tournament. You drive a car? What kind of race car you drive? I guess General Tire. I mean, that does look like a, my wife said, just start talking fishing. So one thing you will get with me up here is you are going to get a ride. You never know what you're going to get up here. So we will get to fishing eventually. I will say I think this is the first time we've ever had carp in here. How many carp fishermen in here? We got a couple. It is amazing. When you get outside of the United States, you go Europe, man, they look at the bass as trash fish. They want them carp. That's they will pay big money to go catch shamu right there, but they are fun to catch. I will say, if you ever want to have like 6-pound test, you want to get your world rock, go catch some carp on a spinning rod. You will know how powerful they are. All right, so anyways, back to growing up Northern California. I'm a rat, Delta rat, Clear Lake rat. That's where I love fishing. That's my strength. When it came to Shasta and Oroville, Folsom, Don Pedro, Maloney's McClure, I did okay. I mean, I won some tournaments, but it wasn't that shallow water power fishing. It was like Clear Lake. You go to Clear Lake, you're seeing docks and tules and grass lines. You're like, that's where a bass is supposed to live, right? You go to the Delta, man, there's rocks and tules and grass. Everything's like, it's a bass fishing paradise. It's what it looks like. And it is. And you don't have to fish deeper than 10 foot of water most of the time. So that always fit my style of fishing, my strengths. And I think that's why I always excelled. I mean, I think I've got a pretty decent track record on Clear Lake over my career. I had a film crew. We were filming some stuff at the house, and I got an office full of trophies and different plaques and different things. But there's one trophy that stands out that, to me, it was like one of the biggest wins in my career. And I've won at every level, the biggest stage you could ever win. And this one tournament, to me, was like, that's what put me over the top. And back then, it was a Red Man tournament trail called the BFLs now. One-day tournament on Clear Lake against all the local sticks. And I won that tournament, and I'll never forget. I caught a 9-3, 9-pound, 3-ounce bass. There's one, fishing along a tule line, north end of the lake. There's one tule that's kind of laid over. My line had gone over that tule, and I'm reeling a spinnerbait. And I watched that spinnerbait just break the water coming up over the tule, and here comes this bass. 9-3, and I won. I was 18 years old, and I won that Red Man tournament back then. And that, to me, that was like winning the Classic back then. So it was huge to me. That was a turning point. Fortunately, I've been able to go on and win a few tournaments since that point. And it's like I'm looking at the kidders over here. There's the people in my bass club, and it's always fun coming back here because this is like a throwback, seeing people I haven't seen in years, friends, family, whatever it might be. So I always enjoy coming back to the show, just because it's Northern California. You guys are my peeps, man. You're in my backyard. I live in Auburn now. I grew up in Sonoma County, Runner Park, Santa Rosa, Cotati. Anybody ever fished Spring Lake before? Oh, wow, that's a lot more hands than I thought. Man, that was the beep, back in the day. Float tubing. Here's the story. So I grew up in a float tube, learning how to bass fish. Spring Lake was full of giant bass because they used to stock it full of trout all the time. And in a float tube, old flipping stick, 25-pound trilene big game, flipping a brown orange jig, flipping in a tree. I get a bite. Anybody ever fish out of a float tube before? All right, so you start kicking backwards. So you're pulling on a fish. And that just goes, pow! What just happened? I mean, I've never broken a fish off in 25-pound big game in my life. I was shaking. I'm like, oh. So I tie my other jig back on. And I go over to the next tree, flip in there. Boom. Oh. Pow. 2 flips, broke off 2 fish on 25-pound trilene big game. If you don't know what trilene big game is, like the biggest bungee cord line you could ever use. It's got like 37% stretch. You can't break that stuff. I did. So to this day, I'm like, how big were they? How big? Because I wound up catching a bunch of 10-pounders. Anybody ever cut school to go fishing? Yes, I did too. So that's where kids, you did not hear that. So you go to school. So I used to walk around Spring Lake, just on a spinning rod. I don't know how many 10-pounders I caught out of that lake, but those were big. And there wound up being an 18-pounder caught out of the lake because of live trout. So anyways, that's where my Northern California roots come from. All right, I brought I feel like I'm looking at the front, my boat, the front end, the Ranger, you got too many rods up there, and you're like, where do I start? Which rod do I want to use? So I got a bunch of stuff, but I really want to get into presentations, all right? Because you're going to hear, how many of you sat in some of the other seminars here? So Ken Ma, he doesn't know anything about the Delta, ignore him. So he knows a little bit, but I want to talk about different presentations, and I got a few of them rigged up here just for people to see different ways to rig. All right. Hi. You guys want to come sit down? Anybody want to go swimming? You can't hear me? Well, come over here. You can hear. Ah, genius. This is, anybody own any Skeet Reese rods? Yellow rods, couple in the past. So I am excited that this is actually the first time in public that anybody will actually get to see my new signature series rods that Reese Fishing that I'm coming out with, that I thought I was coming out with last year, but anyways, long story short, we're gonna be very soon, hopefully in the next few weeks. So yeah, all right. Which he's like, shut up and fish, would you? Anyways, but I gotta tell you, so, all right. I've sold 1 million yellow rods. My signature rods, there's so many of these rods out there, it's amazing. And I thought that's what people really wanted. So I actually did a social media survey. Social media, that's another topic. Anyways, I was like, all right, black or yellow? I was shocked. What do you think the percentage came back at? Black or yellow? Yellow, right? It came back 60% wanted black rods. I'm like, what? They're not fans. So anyway, so that's why this first series of rods, my next one series, you have a choice. Now you got black or yellow. So I do like yellow because, when you see a yellow rod, you can see somebody hooked up with this rod like a mile down the lake. So you just pre-fish. Anybody's got a yellow rod, you see them bowed up. There's no mistaking that's a Skeet Reese rod way down there. All right, so let's talk about different presentations. I'm gonna start with this. Anybody ever hear about this guy named D. Thomas? D. Thomas. Anybody, raise a hand if you don't know who D. Thomas is. It's okay to raise your hand. All right. D. Thomas, anybody know what flipping is? Pitching, flipping. All right, D. Thomas is the godfather, the founder, the inventor, so much of the flipping technique. And he started out with the 18, or not 18, I think it was like a 14-foot rod back then. And then Bass put a length limit on rods, so then it went to 8 foot. So then he started making 7.5-foot rods because he thought they had an advantage with a 12-foot flipping stick or 14. But anyways, D. Thomas he is to be thanked by myself and a lot of other guys that made a great career with a flipping stick. Flipping stick, shallow water power fishing, target fishing. So Clear Lake, Delta, it is flipping paradise. When these fish get up shallow and they're on the grass lines, the toolies, especially the toolies, like, oh man, this is the deal. All right, so typical flipping stick is 7.5, 8 foot. So this is a 7.5-foot heavy action rod. I'm gonna fish 20, 25 pound fluorocarbon line. You can fish braid, whatever you want. And then you got any type of soft plastic you want to fish. You can fish jigs, flipping, whatever you want to put, as long as it's weedless and you can get it back up into the junk and get it back out there. And if you don't know, the reason why you want a heavy action rod is because, not that there's any heavy cover in here, I'm actually going to make a cast, because, all right, so if there was heavy cover in here and I get bit in there, if I've got a spinning rod and 8-pound test, I'm not going to get a fish out of the toolies and all that. So that's heavy. This heavy action rod is going to allow me to be able to set the hook. And this is full combat fishing. I think that's what I love about it. There's nothing finesse about this. This is getting in there, wham! This is like jacking them. And it's like you're boat flipping 4-pounders and 5-pounders. Hi, how y'all doing? So that's what's fun about flipping, because it's close range combat fishing in the heaviest cover of all. But back to, so whatever bait we're flipping and pitching, and this is, anybody caught a bass on a pit boss? You might, those, all right, that's like the #1 selling Berkley bait they have right here. It's a bait I designed several years back called the Berkley Pit Boss. It is, you can swim it, you can see you can swim it. You can fish it as instead of a swim jig. You can fish Pit Boss as a swim jig. You can, whatever. You can crawl on the bottom. You fish it back of a jig trailer, whatever you want it to be. That's my go-to soft plastic bait. If I'm flipping and pitching soft plastics, that's it. So I'm going to say that that color, anybody heard of Skeet's Green Money Magic? It's a long name, but it's money is what that is. I've designed a lot of stuff. That color right here is now my #1 color I use in every soft plastic Berkley bait pretty much that I have. I don't know what it is. I think because it could be a bluegill, it could be a crawfish, whatever. But if you go look at it online, just look, Skeet's Green Money Magic. That is my #1. It doesn't matter if I use it on a chatterbait trailer, a Pit Boss, straight money, shaky head, Nico rig. That color is amazing. So back to, this is traditional fishing right here. So Texas rig, weedless. I got either a 3/16, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, depending on how heavy the cover. And I'm gonna flip and pitch in there. So if you see that bait, when you're Texas rig, you see how that bait, the weight's pulling the bait down like this. Pulls the bait down nose first. That is what we've always done. A Texas rig worm, Texas rig soft plastics. That is traditional. That's what most people fish most of the time. What I want to show you is alternative ways to fish this that absolutely has changed how I fish a lot of stuff. All right, so if we are still fishing shallow cover, sparse toolies, inside grass lines, skipping docks, whatever you want to be. How many of you ever fish a belly-weighted hook on a soft plastic, like a craw, a beaver, whatever? Most people have never done that. But when you see this thing fall in the water, you're going to be like, oh. How many of you ever watched a crawdad like fall in the water column? They don't go like that, right? They fall flat. They're out like this. They glide down. That's what they do. So, tell me that fall doesn't look more natural. How many of you can't see it because you don't have glasses? All right, so this, you can do an 8, 3/16, quarter, your 3/8 ounce. But that fall right there is the most natural presentation of any soft plastic craw that I've ever fished. It's super weedless. I can fish it just like a swim jig too. So if you're on the delta, you're fishing the back edge of the grass lines, I can still, I just felt it. Now if I get bit, I might jack one right now because I have not had a bite in a while. I don't know if these guys are gonna bite at all. So fish it, so you don't have a Texas rig, you don't have a sliding sinker on here. You fish it just like a swim bait or swim jig, just like so. But if you are pitching it back in the holes, when you see that bait fall the way it falls, that's the most natural presentation. It's like fishing a Cinco or weightless general. That's one of the things that makes a Cinco so deadly is the way it falls. It's flat, it shimmies on the way down. That's a natural fall. This is not natural. Now we can create reaction strikes, and that's a whole nother topic up there. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to, if you're fishing shallow rocks on Don Pedro, Shasta, Folsom, this right here is money. You can take a little 3-inch pit boss or whatever little smaller bait you want to fish for spotted bass. I wish that I can see that big one down there, and I'm like, oh, just give it a kiss, honey. Just kiss it. I'll give you a kiss back right on the lips. So that right there is, and you can fish it on 12, you can fish on 8, 10, 12, 20-pound test. Whatever rod you're fishing is your soft plastic setup. Flip and stick, 25-pound test. I fished a 3/8 or 3/16 ounce version of that. I don't want the little one. All right, so I have to say, has anybody caught a fish here in the last week? I'm jealous. All right, so the last fish I caught, crappie fishing at Clear Lake. Anybody done any crappie fishing at Clear Lake? Woo! That's fun. I mean, you catch 100 crappie, they're not little crappie, they're like 2.5 pounders. You guys ever caught 2.5 pound crappie? Dude, you have? Good for you, dude. That is fun. 4-pound test. All right, and that's what we'll get into another. So anyways, that's one way I wanted to share with you, because I want to talk about the same thing with fishing a different way. So the pit boss or soft plastics, if you're a flipper pitcher, absolutely try fishing a belly weighted hook, and you're gonna find out that it's such a different presentation than what anybody else is getting. It's gonna generate a lot more fish for you, I promise you. I know it has for me. All right, so then we're gonna get into, all right, how many Nico rig guys up here? Bunch of worm draggers in here, I see that. That's all right. This is California. So if you're not fishing Clear Lake in the Delta, and you fish any other lake in Northern California, or in California in general, this is 75% of your fishing right here, I would say. It's gonna be a spinning rod. You wanna catch fish, it's gonna be a spinning rod. So this right here, drop shot, for years it's like drop shot, drop shot, drop shot. Drop shot is a dynamite fish catching technique, it really is. Speaking of which, I gotta talk about this. I might get emotional. Anybody ever hear a guy named Aaron Martins? Aaron Martins. Yeah. Wow. I didn't know this was coming. Wow. Aaron Martins, hands down, one of the greatest bass anglers of all time. Southern California bass genius. He has won more money with a spinning rod, caught more big fish with a spinning rod than anybody I know. We lost them not long ago. Dang it. Hi, how you guys doing? I'm telling you, I got to change subject here for a minute, man. Anyways, Aaron was a really good friend of mine. Ooh, that's some nasty feedback. MD? Can you hear that? I can't. Do you hear the feedback? Okay. Composure. I'll just turn my mic down or off. Is that better if I move up? Okay. All right, so Aaron, he got a nickname called the Hog Snatcher because he snatching hogs all over the country, a spinning rod, but I actually named one of my rods after him. So this rod right here is called the Hog Snatcher. A rod I know he'd be proud of. So that's where I wasn't going to get in this rod until a little bit later, but this is a 7'2" light action finesse rod that is ideal for drop shots, Ned rigs, little light finesse fishing. I'm super excited about this one coming out. And if you go to the reesefishing.com, when that's up, I said some words about Aaron in there that pretty powerful, that he means a lot to me and will always mean a lot to me. Man, it's like I got pictures of him all around the shop, and I don't know if there's a hook on this, but Aaron, that was for you, buddy. Aaron, love you, buddy. Okay, apparently it's still got a hook on there. I'm going to keep it on here too. All right, so when it comes to fishing a finesse rod, the biggest thing is, all right, so if you watch me, I don't know if another one's got, watch the rod. When you shake a rod and you're fishing, you want to be able to have that little, you want that rod tip bouncing. You don't want it being like a super stiff rod. I'm gonna get in trouble, but I don't care. Oh, hey, he came off. All right, any of you know, I just had knee surgery not long ago, so that little bend down right there was a, ooh, I felt that, a little zinger. All right, so let me just start talking about this, because this is where I was gonna go with this rod when I got here. All right, so drop shot catches a lot of fish. I was gonna go into Nico rig. Hands down, if I had to pick one bait to take anybody to one of our Northern California lakes or California in general to go catch a bass, it's gonna be a Ned rig. That do nothing, tiny little soft plastic will absolutely train wreck them. Apparently, don't catch big ones yet, but it's just, so the great thing about a Ned rig is it is so easy. It's an open hook. I mean, you can get weedless ones. And the thing is, it's about that fall rate too. So 16th, 8th, and I don't typically fish over a 1/4 ounce. So depending on how deep of water I'm fishing. But the Ned rig is super, you want to get the kids catching fish? Can we turn that microphone down? I don't know how to do it on here. Anybody know how to use a microphone, PA system? This here, we got 2. I don't know what I'm doing. Now, we're gonna have a little more of a challenge if I hook one of them big ones on this, but you guys would like to watch that, wouldn't you? Anybody want to watch a big one you caught? Yeah, me too. So, all right, so Ned rig. This is a little bait, it's another one. Imagine that, it's a bait I designed. It's called the cash out. So like you need to get a bite, this is it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that's the same color. That's my favorite color of all time now. But here's the key: you want to catch spotted bass in all our Northern California lakes, get you that little chartreuse jig head right there. What it is about that, I don't know. Spotted bass love chartreuse, but it's easy to fish. And the reason you will find that you will get most of your fish, most of your bites will come on the fall. Like if you're casting out in 10, 15 foot of water, by the time that bait gets to the bottom, you're gonna have a bite. Now you can drag it along the bottom, you can hop it, you can do all that like you normally do, like any Texas rig worm. But the Ned rig, that is, whoops! I am kind of enjoying this. I mean, just anybody else? Okay, it works on largemouth bass too. Photo op, anybody? Might dock my pay on this one. So if I got to go fish this, so here's one of the key things. So if I'm going to fish, I don't fish a spinning rod without braided line anymore. So I fish Berkley Nanofill. They got rid of it. They're bringing it back. Fire line. I love a bright line. So the chartreuse line, when I saw guys going to a bright chartreuse line, I'm like, you guys have lost your minds. How can you fish a bright chartreuse line on Shasta and Oroville? Well, I realize if you run a 10 or 12 foot leader, they'll never see that line. So, so that's my setup. I'm gonna run 10 pound nanofill, and on this Ned rig, it's either 6 or 8 pound test. I would rather fish 20, but when it comes to getting bites, I'll tell you right now, the difference between 6 and 8 is dramatic. Like dramatically, get a little excited up here. So if you really want to increase your bites, because anybody ever think that bass fishing is not scientific? I thought for the longest time that bass fishing is not scientific. Now I realize like everything about it is science. So from picking the right rod to the right hook diameter and the right line, because line has stretch rates. You got 10 to almost 40% stretch rate on line. So making sure you're partnering the right line rod for the right bait. So a Ned rig, you got a little light wire hook. If I fish this on a medium, like I got another rod here called the Mule. If I fish the Mule, a lot of times I can bend the hook out on this little hook. So being that braid, nanofill, has no stretch, 0 stretch, but I run that 8 to 12 foot fluorocarbon leader. So, we're gonna go with that. So, I just saw a bass turn down there. I don't know if you went and looked at it, but I'm gonna get lost up here. I'm like, we just going fishing. All right, so here's another. By the way, I've got a whole bunch of stuff we're gonna give away when I'm done with this thing. And I'm looking at my power bar in there. That looks good. So Ned rig. Then those of you that just want to take family fishing, kids fishing, you want to catch fish. I don't care where you go. A Ned rig will catch more fish, I think, than any other bait I have in the boat anymore. It's because it's not what I like. I want to throw a swim bait. I want something big going, ka-dong. But that little bait right there, hands down. And you can use whatever jig head, but I prefer a 16th ounce. That's my go-to. 8th is probably my second. And I have 2 color jig heads. I got chartreuse, and I got a lead color. They're not a lead color, just lead. It doesn't work at all. Bye, you leaving? I'm just happy I hit the tank, so. So give the Ned rig a try. That's the cash out, little light head. Make sure you got the right rod tip for it, light action. Because the reason I want to talk about that is just, it catches fish. I put my kids on it. We would go up to Rollins, doesn't matter. You want to catch them? It's not hard. You just throw the thing out there and they go, don't. How's that lunch? Pretty good? Looks good. All right, so the Ned rig, but then, yeah, that was to me, this is a Cast King Mega Jaws. It actually, I didn't know Cast King was gonna do a purple reel that actually matched Aaron Martin's, his color is purple. So it was a perfect combination of purple added to the Hog Snatcher Aaron Martin's on there. So y'all can see that when I get off the stage. But that rod, so when I approached Leslie Martin's, Aaron's wife, about being able to use Hog Snatcher and talk about Aaron and in memory of him, and when she said yes, she gave me the blessing. I lost it. I thought that meant everything to me right there. All right, what are we going to talk about? All right, so I wanted to get into, where's it at? Here we go. What I got going on here? Oh. Ooh, anybody done that? Anybody ever get their spool or their line under the spool, the spinning reel? Yeah, it just happened. Sorry. And no, I would probably I'm waiting for it to go. Anybody ever drop the spool in the water trying to get it undone? You haven't? I got it though. That was a Kent Brown sabotage right there. All right, so there's a gentleman up here, Greg Gutierrez. Anybody watch Greg's presentation? Greg's like Shasta, Oroville spotted bass guru. But I want to talk about the next presentation. My thing what I want to get up here is show you guys different presentations, how baits look in the water. Because most people don't think about, they just throw a drop shot. They throw a Texas rig. So this is a Nico rig. What makes a Nico rig so different is the way it falls. There's two things. The way it falls. So if you want, throw it out here. Most baits, when you cast them out, when they hit the water, they will glide around more. A Nico rig, I'm just throwing it in the middle, goes straight down. So for those of you that actually are looking, using any type of sonar that you can look forward, and you see a fish that is positioned in a certain spot, because most of the time when we cast a bait out there, a bait wants to pendulum like this. If you don't give it enough line, it's going to pendulum. So it's going to come towards me. The deeper it gets, it's going to go down. The cool thing about a Nico rig was when I want to be precise, like I know that I got to cast a bait, I want that bait, even though the fish might be 20 foot down, I want that bait to get right on top of that fish, go straight down. When I free spool a Nico rig, that worm goes straight down to where I want it to go, as long as I feed it that line. So that's one of the cool things, and a lot of people don't really understand that and think about, oh, I use it for precise casting. But here's one of the key things. Drop shot, worm is rigged straight, it's gonna just jig it, and it goes, it does that. All right, a shaky head. How many fish shaky heads? All right, a few shaky heads. I'll tie one on so you can see the difference in that one. Shaky head is still your bait, the line is tied to the eye of the worm basically. So it makes the worm dance different. A Nico rig, what's cool about it, and what generates so many more bites in certain situations, when I pop that rod tip, that worm folds in half. Can you see that bait coming through the water? That is a completely different presentation than you will get from any other soft plastic. So Greg Gutierrez, who's caught more giant spotted bass on a Nico rig, Cinco, and shaky heads than probably anybody I know. But that right there is what makes a Nico rig so different than any other setup you can fish. So you can work it on the bottom. I love it. It works great for suspended fish because I can, if I want to just pop it like that, depending on the size of the weight. Here's the one thing about a Nico rig. You do not need as heavy a weight for this rig. If I was to use a 1/4 ounce or 3/16 ounce insert sinker on that thing, which it started out as guys used as nail weights, literally nails, finish nails. That was the weights. They just stuck in the head of the worm when they started doing this technique. But if I use a 3/16 or 1/4 ounces, this thing sinks at Mach 5. We're using like 3/32, 16 ounce. We're using light weights and still achieving the same fall rate as a heavier weight because that worm goes straight down. There's less drag on it. But once I start popping that thing, as you can see in the water, it's a completely different action. So as far as a setup, how many of you guys use O-rings for wacky rigging? I got to give, anybody heard a guy named Justin Lucas? He's all right. Justin Lucas. He's from right here, Roseville, Sacramento area, phenomenal angler. I got to thank him because he turned me on to this little wacky rig keeper. It's something about crack. Nico crack or crack something. I don't anybody know the name of it. I'll show you when I get off stage. It's this little plastic tee that you stick through your soft plastic. It's got a little spot. You put your hook in there. It's so easy. You don't cast a bait off. They don't tear in half. You don't have to put O-rings on. I'm like, I love that thing. It's long. You just stick it through and you snip the end off. So if you want to see, that is, it's the simple things in life that really work for me that I like. That one, I got to say, Lucas, I don't know where he found out about it, but it made wacky rigging. Because I was lazy. Like I hate putting O-rings on a bait. Like time is money. And I'm like, on a wacky rig and there goes my soft plastic. Son of a. This little thing, man, you can fire it out there. The worm does not come off. It doesn't break. So, but lighter line, still same deal. I say that. This is typically we're going to fish 8, 10 pound test. This is my go-to setup. 6'11". Here's the mule. It's a medium heavy action rod. But the biggest thing is so I will tell you this, whatever soft plastic you want to try for a Nico rig, trying to say how this, I'm observing my audience before I make a comment here. The harder the worm, the better it is. Stiffer is better. Shut up, Reese. So anyways, all right, so the reason you want a stiffer worm for this is that when you pop that bait and it folds in half, it'll recoil faster. Instead of just being soft or limp and just kind of flowing in the water, this bait right here, this one's called Straight Money. That bait is designed strictly for, this is what it was designed for. Nico rig. It's got a much harder plastic in it with a flat tail. So when you pop that worm, it pops. And if you, I don't know if you guys can see it down there, when it goes down to the bottom, and I pop that thing, I hop it, when it stops, that tail is doing this. You're not looking at me, you're looking at down there. The tail's doing this. When it stops and it springs back up, it's quivering. That's what separates, that's what makes that so good. So whatever soft plastic you use, make sure that you get, like robo worms, love robo worm, great product. It sucks for a Nico rig. It is not a good bait for a Nico rig. It does not, drop shot, great. This one, you want something a little bit stiffer. So as far as a weight, 3/32, 16th, 1/8 ounce is as heavy as I go with this. And I'm fishing at 1/8 ounce, even if I'm fishing in like 25 foot of water, 30 foot of water. You don't need that heavy a line. Now you can fish this. Guys will fish, they're fishing Nico rigs with 10-inch power worms. It's just, whatever worm you want to fish, you can fish on a Nico rig. But it's the presentation that changes it. Because let's see if I can actually tie one on. Because I want to put a shaky head on here so you guys can actually see the difference. Whoa. Hi. What'd I go and do? How many of you cut your teeth with your line? Or did I just say? What did I say? I am dyslexic. All right, so cut your line with your teeth. I did say it backwards, didn't I? All right. Yeah, I can't. So here's what, this is where, yeah, I don't have a drop shot rig, but this is what I really wanted people to see is the difference in, that's annoying. My pride's killing me. I'm like, did I pull my glasses out to tie this on? Don't do it, Reese! I'm gonna be like on camera on the first term of the season. I'm gonna have a cameraman on the boat. I can't see it. So I will say this. I did have this happen once last year. Wow, that hole's small. I did screw up a knot last year at a tournament. I admit it. I've never done it. I'm always prideful of my knots and tying a perfect knot. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm like, yeah, I got it. It's good. Set the hook. Not so good. I pull my line, get my bike, and the line's just all curled up. They just came undone. I'm up. Ooh. I don't want to bend over anymore. That's enough. All right, so here's a shaky head. This is like bass fishing 101. This has been around. Guys have made livings with shaky heads over that past. You can see that fall down there. Totally different fall than any of the other baits. But as I shake that bait and fish it down there, that worm does not have near the same action as a Nico rig. Now it's weedless, so it's good, so you can actually come through brush piles and things like that. Not that we do that, a lot of that here, but in the South, a lot of parts of the country, man, that's like people, that's all they do is fish brush piles. This works, it catches fish. You can go catch them anywhere, anytime. I'm just telling you, I just want you guys to see really how that bait falls in the water. And when you shake it, and I'm doing my thing, my rod tip up here, going, that worm's not doing near as much as a Nico rig. So make sure you try your different presentations. So that's the shaky head. I don't even want to talk about it because it's boring. It's been around for 50 years. It's not as good. It's not as cool as the other stuff. All right. If you can't tell, it's hot up here. Woo! All right, what did I want to get into? Oh, this is one I want to do. We're going to talk about different things. Can you see it? That's a small crankbait right there, isn't it? That's like I got trout lures bigger than this. All right. The purpose of this is not so much for the bait. That's a little Lucky Craft 50, I think. Or no, it's a .30. It weighs 1/10 of an ounce. That is a tiny, tiny little crank. But I mean, I will say I have had tournaments across the country. Summertime, fish are on eating super small shad. I've caught a lot of fish on this little bait right here. But what I wanted to talk about here is that technology, I mean, I'm one that kind of I like sticking with what I know and what works. And I've been fishing whatever bait casting reels for my entire career. And I'm a pretty good caster. Better than most, I think. And I've always prided myself being able to put a lure anywhere, anytime. Well, I don't know if it's gotten older. My eye, the eye-hand coordination with the eyeballs, and when I'm trying to cast a Lucky Craft underneath a dock at Clear Lake, and it goes kapow, and you hit that pontoon boat, and you're like, ooh, that hurt. There goes, well, not that I pay for them, but that's a $15 lure you just smashed on the side. So this right here shocked me, and it's kind of changed how I could fish a lot of stuff. And what it is, this is a new Cast King reel. This is an MG12. That's my signature reels right here. This is a large capacity Cast King. That's my, more about that. Anyways, great reel. Actually, I gotta tell you, I'm excited. I literally just got we just got voted best affordable reel on the market by 2 different magazines. $99 price point, super smooth, 7:2 gear ratio. That's the Skeet Reese signature icon reel. But as good as that reel is, it's a large capacity spool, which, you know, if I'm making long casts, that's what I want. But when you're close range target casting at Clear Lake, and you're trying to, I'm throwing little crankbaits, little light baits, most spools tend to have a lot of rise, so they can't handle, the spool weight's heavy, the line's heavy. So even though you're like, whoa, whoops, what happened? I broke my rod up there. So you really gotta fire a light bait out there. You gotta put a lot of work into it. And usually it starts out like this, and as the bait goes out there, it goes, woo, it starts getting rise on it because the drag on the spool starts going, your rod tips up, and it'll start pulling the bait up, your bait starts rising. Rising bait, rising baits on low overhanging targets is not a good combination. Bad. It's bad for baits, it's bad for backlashes, it's bad for everything. So Cast King sent me this reel right here, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of small reels typically, but I took one to Clear Lake, and I started throwing this. I fished it the exact same rod, the exact same bait. I had 2 rods rigged, one with my reel and one with this one, and I was throwing a little tiny Lucky Craft lipless crankbait, and I made 10 casts with it. I'm like, that's a whole nother experience. I've never cast anything like that before, so. I'm like, how's this gonna work? I'm scared to cast here in this thing. I'm not the bait itself, but the fact is that I can cast this bait. I'm a sidearm. Anybody want a piercing? Let me see if there's hooks on this one. Safe. But this little reel, I'm so nervous. I'm gonna totally screw this one up here. But I could not. That's I think it's 1/10 ounce of a bait. I cannot cast this on any of my other bait caster reels. So what it taught me is that there is a room for small capacity reels, small spool diameters, for 10, 12, 15 pound tests. I will never fish this reel with 20, I don't think. But for 10, 12, 15 pound tests, if you are close range target casting, when you're doing underhand cast, sidearm cast, and you want the smoothest casting reel you can get to be able to get a precise presentation with 0 rise, that reel right here, I got a backlash, I'm all scared. I'm like, what's the odds I get that crossbeam up there? I really want to, here, let's screw it, let's cast in the crowd. She's like, no, don't do that. So, but I just want to say that right there is, how many of you are familiar with, is it BFS? Couple. What does it stand for? Bait Finesse System, that's what it is. Guys are fishing little tiny baits for bass on casting rods. Instead of using spinning reels for their light lures or light line, now they're fishing little finesse bait casting reels. They're fishing you can fish 6 and 8 pound tests on this. I haven't done it. But just want you to know that you want to cast small baits for target casting. This shocked me. That's hard to do with me. I mean, sometimes I'm a professional, I feel. Sometimes I'm not. So I just had to share that with you. But just think, that's a 1/3, 1/10 ounce bait or whatever, that's tiny. And I can cast it. I can make a 70-foot cast with this little crankbait on this reel right there. I just can't do it here. We can, but I really want to. Do you want to see me cast out in the crowd? Yeah. tempting. All right, so that's that. All right, what do we got? Oh, we got to get off stage soon? No. How are you doing, sir? All right, I'm sweating. All right, how many Swimbait guys in here? Yeah! Swimbait Nation, California, baby. The land of giants. Yeah, that's, now I get excited. Like, all the other stuff's fluff. Now let's get to the good stuff. This is power fishing at its finest. It's like, clearly, like any lake. I mean, it's like every one of our lakes in California, and this is it. I think I've been known for, I think I'm known as the Swimbait guy on tour for a long time. Probably because I've won more money on Swimbait than anybody else on tour, being a California guy. There's something about just, kaboosh! You know what's interesting? So now that I think about splash. All right, so I've witnessed this many times. Springtime, fish up shallow, they're spooky, spawning fish. You can cast a weightless 4-inch worm. It hits the water and the fish go, pew! That's how skittish they are. I'm like, dude, it's as small as I got. I can't get any more finesse. But you take a 4-pound Swimbait, kapoosh! They don't move. Why? It makes no sense to me, but I've seen it over and over and over. Now, I'd be really excited if something crush that right now. All right. Swimbaits, what I love about swimbaits is that you're not fishing for a lot of bites. I mean, we have so many guys. I mean, it's California's known. These guys will go fish for a week for one bite. I'm greedy. I want way more than that, man. It's like, if I don't get bit, I got to have a lot of bites. The more bites, the better. But, man, when you get on a good swimbait bite, it's just, anybody like that jig bite, you know, like you got a jig come along and a thump. It's not a swimbait, man, because when you feel a fish inhale 9 quarts of water with your bait at the same time, and your line just goes slack, you're like, oh, that is just talking. Woo! That is fun stuff right there. And we don't have it. There's every body of water around here. And the thing is, we've learned the entire country, swimbaits work. I mean, it's like you go fish for smallmouth. I mean, there's guys fishing 9-inch glide baits up in the north catching big smallmouth. Here's the craziest thing is that I learned this. I learned this from Jared Littner, another California angler. And he down in, I don't know what lake that down. He fished down there, Southern California, Central. Spotted bass lake, he goes, I get more bites in a 9-inch swimbait than I do a 7-inch, catching 2-pound spots. I'm like, you're full of it. And he said, no, I'm serious. So I tried that. I went to, next spotted bass lake I went to, instead of my 7-inch, you know, I love an osprey, 7-inch osprey, great bait. I put a 9-inch on. What is wrong with spotted bass? Those guys are psycho. 2-pound spotted bass coming out of 25 foot of water to hit a 9-inch swimbait. It is insane what they do. But I proved it, like, oh my gosh. Is it just because they can see it from further away? I don't know. But at night, if you're going spotted bass lake, try instead of like a 5-inch. Ooh, I don't know what happened there, but I was like, I felt something. So swimbait fishing, there's lots of them. We got, how many of you spent over $1,000 on swimbaits? I don't even want to know how much I've spent on swimbaits because it's like an addiction, man. It's like, ooh! And you got a Roman-made mothers in here. I got one up on you guys. All right, that's like that's the holy grail of big baits back in the day. But here's a new bait. This is one from Berkley called the Finesse. It's kind of interesting because most soft swim baits, you got to rig with whatever jig head, belly hook, whatever it might be. So this is like a hybrid of a swim bait. It's a soft body with a joint. Is there a hook on this one? Ooh, there is. That's a big hook too. So it's a soft body bait. It's got a little keel on the side, but it's got one joint in the middle. And it is just a completely different action than a hard glide bait. One of the cool features about it is that it's got a little clip. All right, how many of you ever lost a big fish on a swim bait? Man, there's nothing worse than you got a big glide bait on. You get a big bite, 5, 7, 8 pounder, it comes out, they throw it. They use the weight to their advantage. All right, so this bait's got a big swivel on it so that when a fish does jump, I modify it. I either put swivels or I use a soft split ring. I get rid of a lot of split rings on certain baits. I make my split rings out of braid. If you look up Joe Uribe's soft split ring on YouTube, and you'll learn how to tie a soft split ring with braided line, top water bait, stuff like that. Fish use the weight of the lure to eject it and rip out of their mouths. But this one's got a cool little keeper, so the hook's not dangling. It just clips in there, but when you get a bite, then it breaks free, then the hook spins around, gives the opportunity. Now there's 3 sizes in this one. The 5-inch, the small one, it does nothing for me. The 7-inch is, ooh, get it. Ooh. It's like a bedfish. He's like, no, don't you touch me. But the 9-inch, this is the one right here. This one has, to me, the best swimming action. That one right there, that looks like a Clear Lake hitch right there. If you're going to Clear Lake, by the way, which in the next couple months. All right, so it's got little fins, plastic fins on the side. I don't know if you guys can see them from there, and on the tail. So it kind of makes it plain and glide a little bit different in the water, but it's soft bodied, so not as hard. Like, that's the problem with, I love a glide bait, but there's so much weight to a glide bait that you lose so many fish because of it. So I just thought, I know because a lot of people have asked about this bait. I know they've been trying to order them. I don't even know if they're out there yet. Obviously, I get my hands on a few things. So I want everybody to be able to see what the Nessie looks like in the water. I can't see it. So we'll get it. Looks pretty good from up here. So, all right, swim bait fishing. Whatever you want to throw. So here's one I want to say. All right, that's a big bait, right? I don't know what it weighs. Maybe it's, it's 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces. It's still a treble hook. So here's what I'm a firm believer that if you're fishing anything with treble hooks, you want to fish the lightest rod you can possibly fish, meaning the most parabolic action you can. You want to be able to cast that. So you got to have enough backbone to be able to heave a bait out there. But when it comes to fishing it, a lot of fish come up and don't always inhale an entire bait. It's not like a little crankbait or something. They come up and will swipe at a bait. You hook a lot of fish on the side of the face, whatever. You'll get one hook in them. If you fish too heavy a rod with a treble hook, you can rip a hook out super easily. So for this, even though it's kind of a big bait, heavy, this rod I fish is a 7'6" medium heavy action. If you watch that bend right here, it's still got a lot of flex on the tip. Because when I get that bite, what I want, I look at it just like fishing a crankbait. If I'm fishing a square bill crankbait, whatever, deep diving crankbait, I'm fishing on a fiberglass rod. I want as much shock absorbency as I can get for fishing any type of swim bait with a treble hook. Because when that fish comes up and does hit it, and I set the hook, I want a delayed reaction on that one. Because like some of you, like, how many of you like set the hook when you come out of your, when you set the hook, you like come out of your shoes, like, whoop-pow! That's me. Like, I get bit, man, I was like, wah, I'm on it. I'm not like, oh, there's one. Now you worm draggers, and you guys are like, oh, yeah, I got another one, yeah. No, I'm still, my style of fishing is I get a bite, I'm cracking them. So when I'm working a swim bait, and one inhales that, and if I set, and he comes up and he just swipes at it, and he doesn't have a chance to turn all the way, and I'm setting the hook, I'm pulling hooks out of a fish. So when that rod has a little more shock absorbency, even with a swim bait, a big glide bait, the lighter the action rod, the more fish you will land. Now I see a lot of guys throwing big glide baits, they got heavy broomstick rods. My opinion, you will lose way more fish with a heavy action rod on glide baits than you will a medium heavy. It's harder to cast, the rod's gonna load up, man. You're like, whoo, that thing's, whoo. But when you get that bite, you're allowing that fish to eat the bait better, and you set the hook, you got a little delayed reaction there, and when they do jump, it's like watching anybody ever tarpon fish? All right, when a fish come up and they jump, when the head goes this way away from you, they're pulling that line, they're ripping hooks, they're snapping lines. That's why you gotta have lighter action rod that goes this, does this with the fish, forgiveness, that's gonna land you more fish. So keep that in mind if you're fishing glide baits, fish a little bit lighter action rod than you normally would. I know some guys like ask me, do you fish braided line for a swim bait? I don't. I'm pretty much either, if I want my bait to stay high in a water column, I'll fish 20 or 25 pound trilene big game. It's a monofilament, so it floats high. I keep my bait way higher in a water column. If I want to get my bait down deeper, I'm going to fish fluorocarbon. The reason I don't like braid, when you're casting, I don't know, even a $20 swim bait or a $400 swim bait, and you get a backlash with braid and an 8-ounce lure going through the air. Anybody ever had that experience? It's not a good, it's like, one, it scares the hell out of you because it's just like, and I've had rods like go out of my hands. Or your line just goes snap. Braided line will snap like that, but there's no shock absorber, and you just watch your swimming go, and you hope it floats. So for me, it's monofilament or fluorocarbon, but that is a Nessie. But just keep those things in mind. Try fishing a little bit lighter rod, glide baits, help you put more fish in the boat. All right, what else are we gonna do up here? I'm gonna do some Q&As for you guys, I know that, because I think we should catch another fish personally, but. Anybody else wanna catch a fish? Okay, let's go back to this. That was, I'm gonna go home tonight and just think about that. It's like my first cast with this rod, Aaron's rod in the tank, he catches a fish for me. So I'm taking this rod with me on tour, so Aaron will be like in the boat with me catching fish. All right, we're gonna do some Q&A. What do you guys got? You just got here. I can't hear you. What'd you say? What do I recommend right now? January, February? Man. All right, so where are you going? Oroville. Man, it gets good this time of year. There's so many options. All right, if I'm going to Oroville right now, okay, depends. Water's rising. If there's water coming in, any of our lakes this time of year, especially with the spotted bass, when we start getting some runoff, spotted bass are like trout. They love running water. They are like, as soon as that water, a fresh rain, how many of you like go on your driveway after a rain? And see all like the night crawlers like all over? That's no different on lake. Rain comes, there's night crawlers getting washed down the stream, bugs, runoff, all that. Them spotted bass go, and they'll have their nose up, right, they'll be right behind a boulder. raging water coming over them. So I will be going straight to the back of a creek right now. If there's running water, fresh running water coming in. Bait of choice, man, that's a good question. If the water's dirty, I would go double willow leaf chartreuse and white spinnerbait. I would do a 1.5 DRS. So, all right. There's so much to talk about that we could spend days up here. Rattles, pre-spawn. I mean, that's a great question. There's something about cold water, pre-spawn fish, dirty water, whatever it might. Rattles in a pre-spawn, the early part of the year, hands down make a difference. Like, what I got one? Do I have one? I got one. I have one. How many of you anybody fish tournaments here? A couple of you. How many of you like get too many rods in the front of your boat? All right. Can you hear that? It's kind of fun. So I'm just having fun. That's a Lucky Craft DRS. There's, whether it's a crankbait, it's a jig, so like dirty water jig fishing. I'm like, rattles make a big difference this time of year. Pre-spawn water temperature is 45 to, I would say, mid 50s. If you're gonna fish a hard bait, even a jerk bait, having a rattle will produce way more fish, in my opinion. Now, as the water gets warmer, the fish get more fishing pressure, then I'll go to more silent baits. But that early pre-spawn fish, when those fish are moving up shallow, I haven't cast this one. I don't know what I'm doing. That was horrible. So that's a 1.5. That right there, like, all right, I fly out tomorrow, heading to Toledo Bend Reservoir, Louisiana, Texas for our first Bass Pro Tour event of the year. That's a bait we'll be getting thrown a bunch right there. That's the DRS 1.5. So when these fish start moving up and they get on that shallow rock and like 1 to 6 foot of water in the backs of creek staging, you got a little wind. Who taught you how to cast? All right, that's money right there. But that's the rattle. I wish somebody would bite it, but I don't have any hooks on that one. So that would be my suggestion. Dirty water, put whatever hard bait, jerk bait you have as a rattle. Is that because, like, all right, that's a little crawdad. Dirty water, get you a little red crankbait, square bill like that. This is a little SKT, no rattle. Water gets a little bit warmer. Delta, that's a deadly one. When the water temperature gets about 60 to 65, that's probably when I go a little bit more silent. All right, what else we got? There's a little kid right back there. Say that again. How was it to win the Bassmaster Classic? It's all right. It was good. You know, it was interesting is that, yeah, obviously it was amazing to win it. And I know I've said this before, is that being on stage when they announce me the winner and the fireworks go off and all that, it's dead silent in my head. I don't hear anything. I don't hear crowd. I don't hear the MC. I hear nothing. It's just like silent. I just remember just looking out, seeing people, and it's like dead quiet in my head. So it was a good moment. I like it. All right, who else we got? One bait. I get to pick one bait to get a bite. Where? One bait, one just to get a bite. Anywhere, anytime. I would take a Pit Boss. Yeah, I mean that bait right there, because I can fish it in shallow cover. I can fish it shallow. I can fish it deep. That's my go-to. Slow. I can put it on a wobble head. I can put it on the back of a jig. Man, I thought that was a bite for a second. I was like, woo. So that is, yeah, that's it. But dude, you guys got to try the belly weight on that. That's like a huge, huge game changer. Sorry. All right, so he's asked, what hook do I use in that? How many of you use like offset hooks? That's my opinion anyhow. So, all right, so here's back to the science thing. It's like, oh man, why do we have to get all technical on this? What I want you to do is I want you to go home and take a straight shank hook, worm hook, and an offset worm hook. Tie them up, stick them on the edge of a table, fine table, your wife will love it. Grab the line and pull on them. And I want you to see the difference in the flex in an offset hook versus a straight shank hook. You will hook and land more fish with a straight shank hook, whatever brand you want to use, Texas rig, however you rig it, than you will with an offset hook almost every single time. There's way less flex in it. Wide gap hooks, man, when you're like especially flipping close range, heavy line, that hook will open up almost 30 degrees on you. It'll come back in, you won't know that, but that hook will open up that much. So just straight shank hook, whatever you want to use, that's your brand. That's it. All right. I got some stuff I want to give away up here too. What's this? Oh my gosh, wait. That's a new Reese fishing hat. What else we got? I feel like Santa Claus up here. I got a Nessie. Shut up. I got some cash outs, Pit Boss Scrubs. What's that? Woo, he's saying he's going to trade him. He's got a bag of in and out right now. That's a pretty good trade, I think, right there. How many double doubles you got in there? 2? I could eat 2 right now. I'll leave one for your family. All right. All right, we got any more questions? This is hot, by the way. What pound fluoro do I fish on glide bait? So one's been, do I look stupid? That's okay. So as far as, once again, I'm gonna fish, if I'm trying to keep it up on the water column really high, I'm gonna fish 20 or 25 pound monofilament, so trilene big game. If I want to get it down a little bit, down deeper, slow rolling a little bit more. The lightest I'll go for, depending on what type of swim bait, is 15, but usually 20 and 25 pound trilene fluorocarbon is my go-to line choices. All right, I gotta get rid of this. Who wants a beanie? Whew! All right, we're gonna just throw it out here. All right, I'm just gonna start throwing stuff. I don't even know what's in here now. Here's some. Anybody ever fished the deal before? Yeah. You know, you guys don't get nothing because you didn't come sit in the stand, so you're on timeout. What do we got here? Little Pit Boss. All right. Where's that guy? He's like, nah, he just gave me a lure today. I'm not giving that away. Oh, here's one. I gotta show this one real quick because I was gonna give a pack away. Delta rat. How many Delta rats we got in here? Delta guys. All right. This will be fun. I haven't got on the Delta in a while. This is where I would love to go be able to play with this. This is a Lake Okeechobee, Florida fishery. This is where I stumbled across this. All right, here's a bait. It's called a Speed Boss. And I designed it for Berkley. It's the Zoom speed worm, great worm. I wanted something a little bit more action different. So I designed this thing to be able to have our swimming reeling worm that I can rig, Texas rig, and just cast it and reel it like a swim jig. And then there's a guy named John Cox from Florida. I don't know, he catches a bass once in a while. He's like, dude, that bait you designed is awesome. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. He goes, yeah, that's the best topwater bait I ever fished. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it's like the greatest buzz bait. I'm like, what are you talking about? I never even rigged it weightless and tried to reel. He's like, so I rigged one up and I was down in Florida and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And now you guys are probably not gonna be able to see it in here. This right here, woo! How many, there's like a buzzbait bite. That's fun. I mean, I've had some of my best days in the Delta. Black buzzbaits, grass lines, but it's usually the one you don't hear that just goes, and you go, oh, that's a big one. Yeah, it's the 3-pounders that come up and try and knock it out of the water. But that right there, so fishing the back edge of the grass lines, through tulies, doesn't matter where you want to topwater when about May, June, July, when those fish are up shallow, that right there. Can you guys even see it on the surface? I have no idea. All right. There's a 5, a 6, and a 7-inch Speed Boss. I designed it. This is not what I designed it for, but it's like, that's bad. So this is a braid. Either 50 or 65 pound spider wire, straight braid, no fluorocarbon, a 5 or a 6/0 straight shake hook. But once again, I don't fish it on a heavy action rod. I fish on a 764. It's a 7.6 medium heavy, so you still got a soft tip because when the fish comes up and grabs it, you want it to be able to turn and go down on it as you're setting the hook. But the Speed Boss, I thought about this, it's like, they haven't even seen that out here. And like the Delta is like, that's perfect for it. And you can feel it, man. You can feel it on the rod tip, and that's anytime you got a topwater, you want to feel that vibration. All right. So now I'm going to go back to who wants a pack of them. All right, we're going to just like, give it to the kids. Always go to the kids. When in doubt, go to the kids, right? Dad, he's like, I'm a kid. What else we got in here? We got any more questions? Yeah. What kind of device do I? On the gilly? Advice for the gilly. My honest saying, the only time I ever use a gilly is on a bedfish. I don't fish it other than, it's a great bedfish bait because it looks like a bluegill in the water. So I have not caught a single bass just fishing it. I don't know what to tell you because that's the only way I've ever caught one. All right, you got a pack straight money right there. That's the Nico rig. Oh, here's another pack. Who won? Oh, snap. That was awesome. All right, we got a Lucky Craft 1.5. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. What do I got? Got the deal. Dude, that's a mullet, right? He give him that pack. He's got a mullet like mine. Whip it, dude. All right, Max Scent Generals. All these guys are like, man, why is there so many kids here? I can't win anything. I gotta. All right, another pack of deals. Another pack of deals. Hey, you don't know. Lucky Craft. Oh, 2.5. Woo! All right, what side's louder? A, this is going to be A, that's B. Let me hear A. Let me hear B. A. B. But you guys get an effort over there. This sounds good. All right. Okay, you don't get my power bar. Whoa. Santa's getting to the good stuff now. What else we got in there? Pit boss, black and blue. No fighting over here. How long am I gonna get? Oh yeah, we're pushing. Oh. So this one right here, this is worth fighting over. Because this is, you can't buy this. This is a Skeet Reese special. Oh, my kid's eating over here. And my wife, what the hell? This is a Skeet Reese signature color that I had made just for me. You can't buy it. And it was somebody's getting a pack. All right, let me hear it again. Oh! All right, SKT, Lucky Craft. All right, Netsy. I like it. Get them fired up in here. Who's at that whistle? All right. Oh, man down, glasses down. Knocking over women and children to get it. Oh, I don't even know how to do this one. I'm gonna be like Vanna. Ooh. I feel like I'm doing this. I just gotta find a better. There's too many people to Rochambeau. All right. What year? We're gonna answer trivia, maybe. What year did I win Angler of the Year? I'm keeping it. I thought you guys were fans in here. You guys are killing me. I heard a 7. Who said 2007? Hey, Billy, where's that form? Let me talk about it. All right, I got a couple hats left too. But I gotta give Billy, you can hear a plug for one bass. I know he's got a tournament. Lake Shasta, you need some co-anglers, right? All right, anybody that wants to learn how to bass fish, one of the greatest ways to do it is fishing as a co-angler in tournaments. A lot of great guys, some of the best bass fishermen in the country learn fish out of the back of the boat. So, see Billy, you get over here at One Bass. There's a great opportunity, Lake Shasta coming up. You guys fish as a co-angler. So Billy's right here. You want to talk to him? All right, we got 2 hats. Wait, hold chill for that. I got to sign him first. I just want a big mosh pit in here. All right, this side. You guys get one over here too. All right, ready? Ready, set. I'm gonna do like a wedding bouquet thing. Everybody standing up. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck fishing this season. Thank you for being here today and stay safe. Oh, yeah, Niners game. Go Niners!